Hey guys, welcome back. I get the question all the time, Brent, how do I comp or value land when I'm looking at vacant raw land? I'm gonna do a quick video just to show like the best way to do it. In this video, I'm just gonna give you like some simple, easy ways to comp and value land. There's no crazy math equation behind this, let's just follow along and I'm gonna show you the easiest way to comp and value land. And it should take you like 5 minutes when you actually get this. Okay, so first I want to talk about the couple different types of land. The first and the easiest is probably the recreational and vacant rural land. I call this rec land or rural land. Really, there's nothing complicated about this. It's just land that's just on the outskirts of the city. Like it's a little bit of a drive. Like it's not the stuff right in the city. I call those infill buildable lots, the city lots, the things that you can like just pretty much plug and play. You can start building a house on immediately or bring in a modular or a manufactured home. Those are called infill buildable lots or city lots. But first, I'm gonna be talking about the rural vacant land. This is stuff that most of the time people wanna just own one day or have a piece of American land for freedom to go camping on, bring their RV, or maybe even go out and take their quads or their ATVs or their side-by-sides, dirt bikes, and ride on. Some of the best memories I have with my children are just taking them out in the middle of nowhere. We're building a fire, we're camping, we're roasting marshmallows, and having s'mores. And some of the best things that my kids talk about is just building the fire and checking out the stars. So this is the kind of stuff that's done on rural vacant land. And oftentimes I love seller financing this land because it gives me crazy passive income. So you're not here to talk about that or hear about that. So I'm gonna show you really quickly in a video of how I, price these land. Now these parcels of land, now that you know about the two types of land. We got the rural, vacant, recreational land, and you got the city, infill, buildable lots. Now there's other types. We've got industrial, commercial, that I'm not gonna focus on those today. So today we're only gonna focus on recreational, like rural stuff, and then the infill, buildable city lots. And the first example I'm gonna show you is an infill, buildable city lot, how to figure out what that's worth. All right, so I'm gonna do an example of a real world example, something my team sent me the other day. This is a property in Vero Beach, Florida. I'll just drop it right here. All right, so this is 0.44 acres that we're looking at buying in Vero Beach, Florida. Here's the address. It looks like it's 0.44 acres. And what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go to this area in Vero Beach and then I'm gonna drop it in Redfin. I love Redfin. It's one of the easiest places to figure out what things are worth. If Redfin is not available in your area, you can actually use Zillow very easily too. It's just personal preferences. I recommend looking at both of them. So what's really cool about Redfin is now that I didn't actually put the full address, but I put 45th Street, Vero Beach, Florida. That way I can see kind of where it's at in relation to a city map. I see US Highway 1 over here. I see Lindsay Road. A little bit further to the east is the beach, and then we have 43rd Avenue. Something that I know, they're developing a lot of 43rd Avenue. So what I want to see is what the vacant land price is going for in this area first. So I'm going to go to solds, and then I'm going to scroll down, and I'm going to go home type, and that's going to be, I'm going to select lands. And then I want to see what's going on in the last 1 week if possible. And let's see, one home, that's not very much. So let's just go to 1 month. See what's going on in 1 month. All right, 6. So what I'm gonna do, that's enough for me. I'm gonna click over here on the map. I see one went for $1.2 million. That's not really a good comparable because I'm pretty sure that's on a major highway, US Highway 1. So that's not a comparable. I'm looking at a 0.44 acre city lot. I don't wanna look at a commercial piece of land that they may have put a site pad in for a convenience store. So let's drive over here to the $45,000 one. And if you notice, that's probably less than a mile away. It looks like it's a few city blocks. So let's just check out the $45,000 acre parcel of land. And it looks like it's 0.55 acres, so very close to 0.44 acres. Yeah, that's pretty close. I would say that's a good comparable. And what do I mean when I say comparable? It needs to be, a comparable property, apples to apples, oranges to oranges, within about a mile away, about the same size, in the same zip code, same city, same community. So you see this one's going for $45,000. And then I want to read about it a little bit. This home, which they mean land, sold 3 weeks ago, great opportunity. Location, oversized cul-de-sac, medical facilities, beaches, parks, all that stuff. No HOA. So I want to see that. And then also, What's important to me is listed by Danny Muniz, and then also bought with Edna Salas. So these are very important people in my life right now because these guys probably know about land and they're real estate agents in this area. So oftentimes I can find who the land specialist is in this area by looking at enough of these and seeing, oh, Edna, she keeps popping up. Edna's amazing. Edna's listing all this land and selling all this land. Who do you think is going to know more about land in the area than Edna as far as figuring out how to comp it or value it? So Edna's now my best friend. I'm going to call her. I'm going to take her to lunch. I'm going to just maybe do a Zoom with her and see what areas to avoid, what to go for, and how to comp and value this land. But maybe Edna doesn't take the phone call. So I'm going to plan on looking at a few more of these lots. Let's see if we can find anything else in this area to comp or value land. So let's go back. Let's zoom out a little bit here. Not much. We've got one for 130,000 over here, but I don't really like that because that's too far from this 45th Street, and that's kind of a different neighborhood once you go across 58. And how did I know that? It's because I've driven the area enough times, but also Edna told me. So I'm gonna go over here just for kicks and giggles. I just wanna see exactly what it's worth. 130,000 for a 0.40 acre, about the same size as our 0.44. But let me give you a caution right now. You cannot base your comps off of this one because this is not an apple to apple. You're comparing an apple to an orange. It's a totally different neighborhood. The houses look different, and I'm gonna explain exactly what I mean by that. I'm gonna go back to Zillow, and I'm gonna click all filters, and now I only wanna look at houses. This is what's gonna save your bacon when comping or valuing basically land that's infill and buildable. Recreational land is so much easier. You don't have to worry about the houses because there's not as many out there, and they're usually kind of very similar. So let's go back, let's see the area. So remember the $45,000 one is over here. So we got the $45,000 parcel of land, just to show you what we're looking at. And that 45th Street is right here. You notice the house in this area that sold is 150,000. If you jump across on Highway 58, now we're looking at $470,000 houses or $515,000 houses. So this $515,000 house looks fairly new, right? So oftentimes a builder can pay almost 20% of what they can sell that house for brand new, 20% for the land only. So let's take $515,000 times 20%, and that gives us an evaluation of $103,000. That's what the builder can pay for that land. That's anywhere from 20 to 25%, and in crazy hot areas, maybe up to 30%. Well, let's do the same evaluation across 58th right here. Let's do a $150,000 house times 20%. That makes that lot worth about $3,000. So this one that sold for $45,000, that looks like an outlier to me, and I love to see more data. This is not really enough data for this one particular neighborhood, but you can base that if you took that $45,000 range plus the $3,000, and I want you to average this. 45,000 plus 3,000 equals 48,000. I want you to divide it by 2. This tells me $24,000 is the average, and I'm only taking 2. I generally like to see 4 or 5 examples. I like to see 4 examples of vacant land only, and I like to see 4 examples of houses. But there's not a lot of data in this area. This is actually a piece of land that we're looking at buying, so we're actually having a little bit of a hard time. So I want to show you the struggle sometimes with valuing and comping vacant land. I'll show you an easier example in another video, but here is about the max of what that parcel of land is worth, maybe $24,000. So if I want to get a 3x return, I'm going to divide that 24,000 by 3, and I'm going to only pay a maximum amount of $8,000. 8, 16, 24,000. That's 3 times 8 is 24. So the max it's worth is 24,000. The max I personally want to pay is 8,000. Hey guys, it's cool information. I hope you're understanding how to value and comp land, but definitely subscribe to this channel and hit that like button if this is helping at all. All right, so you might be thinking, hey, what would Edna want to talk to me? Why would Edna want to talk to me? What do I have as far as value to add to Edna? In the very beginning, I used to call realtors all the time when I thought I had a good deal and I was about to get something under contract. And guess what realtor I would use to help me find a buyer for this land. I would use Edna, or my very first piece of land I ever purchased. Edna is the one that purchased the land from me. I was out in Colorado in Palmer Lake on Lake Avenue. I told this realtor all about it. Her name wasn't Edna, but I was like, hey, what's the blowout price for this land? What could I sell it for really quickly on the MLS? And guess who bought it from me? That realtor. I made a quick $5,000 on that piece of land, and I only paid $285 for the land. So that was a pretty good profit from making one phone call to an Edna. The next example I want to give is Lehigh Acres. This is a little bit more rural, a little bit more kind of off, like I wouldn't say off grid, but off the beaten path. There should be a lot more data. I personally am not in Lehigh Acres buying and selling land, but I had someone bring it up to me the other day, and I'm very curious about it. Lehighh. This is completely off the cuff, so bear with me. And I wanted to kind of do that as with an example of something I've never looked at before, because I want to put myself in your shoes kind of the first time you're checking out Lehigh Acres. So if I'm coming to Lehigh Acres, the first thing I want to do is I want to go to sold. So I'm going to go to the filters, and I'm going to click sold, and then I want to see houses first, because I want to see what the houses are going for in that area. There's 258 of them sold in the last 1 month. So that is a lot of activity. So that tells me right there's going to be some land in high demand. So I want to just look at what's happened in the last 1 week, and that brings it down to a little bit more manageable number of 51. So I'm going to see all 51 of those houses. This 17K, that is probably vacant lands. Yeah, even though I took that off, it shouldn't be showing me vacant land. That's okay. But we're going to just look at the houses only. So we got 24,009. That's probably also vacant. Yeah, vacant land. Let's look at this, the 190,000. That's a house. And then we got one that's pretty much right across the street selling for 352,000. What a crazy gap. So that's one thing you need to know. Like right here on Lehigh Acres, you can go get a higher price than maybe the one off of 3rd Street. And that's oftentimes usually numbered streets. It's so funny. And I don't have data to back this up, but usually numbered streets, the houses go for a little less than something called Lehigh Acres or Greenwood Avenue. You know, for some reason, these named streets go for a little higher. East Jasmine Road sold for 189. But I'm just going to do a quick example here, going to these 3 houses right here that sold in the last 1 week. And if you notice here, there's 2 for 190. So that's telling me right there we're a little close. So let's just look at these 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. And you might be thinking, well, what if it's 3-bed, 2-bath? Or what if it's a 1-bed, 2-bath? Or whatever. I'm just getting a quick, fast gauge on how to value and comp land. I know you came to a video of how to value and comp land, but guess what makes land values go up? If someone popped a $572,000 house right next to this $352,000 house, you just made that vacant raw land go up a little bit, because a $500,000 house, if a builder can pay up to 20 cents on the dollar for the sales price of that new build, they can pay almost $100,000 for a lot. So let's just do a quick example with these 3: 260, 190, 352, 190. I'm not going to put it in 190 twice. I wish it was a little bit different of a number, but the reason why I'm not going to put it in 190 twice is because it's a wash. So we're just going to do the 3. So 190 plus 352, and I don't really like to see a margin that big, because that could be an outlier. That 352 may be an outlier. Plus 260, and equals 772,000. You divide that by 3. The average home price in this little pocket right here is $257,333. Now I want to multiply that $257,333 times 20%, because I want to see what the vacant land value would be for a new builder that could pay, a builder that could pay for 20% on that new build sales price. So that tells me right there we can sell that land for $51,466, and that might be a little bit on the high price. So let's remember that number, $51,466. Now we're only going to look at vacant raw land. I want to get rid of the houses. I want to see the land only in this particular pocket right here. And it doesn't look like anything sold in the last week for that particular pocket. So let's look at 1 month. We got 17,000. And remember, we got an evaluation of 56,000. Let's look at the last 3 months. Should be more data. We got 36, we got 17, we got 14. This is a little bit different of a neighborhood. Let's see if I can get more in this pocket. Let's go to 6 months. All right, there's more. So I'm going to do this 22, the 36, 20K, And remember, that new home price told me $56,000, right? 56,000 was that number. Let's just double check our math. 777 divided by 3. 259 times 20%. Don't let this confuse you. Yeah, just it's about a $50,000 price. So if you see here, the land sales are selling for a little bit less than that. So that might tell you there's an opportunity in this market to grab these $15,000 ones and sell them to a builder for 50. Now, I don't ever want you to go off of speculation. I want you to actually have a builder lined up that's willing to pay up to $50,000 for that vacant raw land. But let's just look at these. If we were just looking at vacant raw land only, we didn't even have houses to comp. And I would know by looking at 22,000 plus 15,000 plus 36,000 plus 20,000. And this is the easiest way to figure this out. So I just took these four, 22, 15, 36, 20, and I added them all up and I got $93,000. And I'm gonna 1, 2, 3, 4, and I'm gonna divide that by 4. That tells me right there, on average, the retail price of these lots are going for $23,250. Now let's just say that I can contact one of these sellers and get this thing at 50 cents on the dollar. Divided by 2, that's 50 cents on the dollar. So I would want to pay about $11,000 for this land, and I can turn around and sell it for about $22,000, $23,000 and make a quick return on investment. Hey, anything over 10K is a pretty good quick return on investment, right? So that's one way to figure out how to value and comp land. I hope that's a better explanation. I hope that that kind of gave you a little bit of an example, but I don't want to stop here. I don't want to just stop here at this video. I want you to call that realtor, call Anna, call the realtor. You know, who in the world listed this property? $22,000 right here. So we got that 0.51 acre, and if you notice, they're all about the same. 0.50 acres, 0.25, 0.50. You know, if we're looking at half acre lots, this one right here would need to be thrown out. That's a 0.25, it's just a quarter of an acre. So we want to be looking at half acres. These three are apple to apple comparisons. But let's just say, who in the world is the land specialist in this area? Who is my Anna? Well, right here, listed by Madeline Garcia and bought with Dennis. Let's see if we can see a pattern. All right, listed by RJ Dean, bought with RJ Dean. Okay, he actually listed the property and he brought a buyer, so that's a good sign. Let's see who's next. Listed with Al, bought with Al. All right, Al listed and brought the buyer for this part, or he found the buyer, I should say. He might have even bought it, no telling. And then you got listed by David, bought with David. I'm starting to see a trend here. If they list it, they bring the buyer. And let's do one more for example purposes. And you'd have to do about 15 or 20 of these to see an actual pattern. I like to copy and paste it. I like to put it on a Word doc, and then, you know, if I see Al coming up quite a bit, he gets green highlight and Shannon gets red highlight, and then eventually I'm gonna see one of those highlights pops up more than others, and I'm gonna call that person and I'm gonna say, hey, what's the 30-day blowout price? What's this land worth? You know, I'm trying to figure out how to comp this land. I'm a new investor in the area, or I'm looking to build a house in this area. So I hope this video has brought you great advice on how to figure out and comp land. I want to make sure that you have subscribed to this video, comment on any area you're having a hard time, you know, comping, and I can even do videos for that. So I definitely want you to subscribe to this channel because I'm coming out this 5 days a week. I am the land man in the area. I've come up with a company called the Land Sharks, and we teach people how to buy and sell land and create massive value behind it and create a business that gives you the 3 freedoms: financial freedom, time freedom, and most importantly to me these days is geography freedom. You know, I was in the military for 8.5 years, and I was told what to wear, where to be, and where to be at for 8.5 years. So now that I'm the land man and created the Land Sharks, I can teach people how to get out of that bondage like I was in. So head on over to thelandsharks.com. That's thelandsharks.com. Schedule a call with me and my team. We'd be honored to see what your real estate investing goals are. And if we feel like we're a great fit, I'd be honored to coach you. And one more time, I'm gonna ask one more time, subscribe to this channel.